Okay, 7.7 is operations on functions. A lot of these you've done before, we just haven't called it operations on functions. So it's really a lot about notation. If I have f plus g of x, that's the same as f of x plus g of x. So we're just adding them together, like terms simplifying. We have f minus g of x, same thing, we're just subtracting this time. So we have to distribute that negative first, and then we stack and add. F times g of x means f of x times g of x, which a lot of times we have to FOIL or distribute. This last one, we just cannot let the denominator go to 0. So f over g of x is just f of x over g of x. And g of x cannot equal 0. So we can't let the bottom go to 0. So that's the only extra step there. Okay? So let's do a couple examples of this, and then we'll do composition. All right, number 1. You have f of x equals 3x squared plus 7x, and g of x equals 2x squared minus x minus 1. So A says f plus g of x. So that really just means f of x plus g of x. In this case, I'm just going to stack and add. 3x squared plus 7x. G of x, I'm going to stack underneath 2x squared minus x minus 1. And I end up with 5x squared minus 6x minus 1. So that's f plus g of x. Okay? So really just simplifying. You've done this before. Let's do part B. B says f minus g of x. Now this is the one where you need to distribute the negative first, then stack and add. So f of x minus g of x looks like this. 3x squared plus 7x. And from that, we're going to subtract 2x squared minus x minus 1. And I've actually been doing this a little bit different. I am going to distribute this and write it down. So negative 2x squared plus x plus 1. And then I'm going to stack the other one under that. You don't have to, it doesn't matter which order you do it in. So I've been doing it this way, just to save myself room. And so this will be x squared plus 8x plus 1. And so that's f minus g of x. So this should look pretty familiar to you. Okay? And then number 2, f of x equals 3x squared minus 2x plus 1. And g of x equals x minus 4. So the first one is f times g of x. So that's really just f of x times g of x. So let's just write that out and do the problem. Once you write it out, it looks very familiar because it's Algebra 1 work. It's just new notation. And so I could FOIL or box this either way. So that would be 3x to the third minus 4x squared. This will be negative 2x squared plus 8x, and this will be x minus 4, and then I just add up. This is the way I happen to do it. So that's 3x to the third minus 6x squared. You don't have to do it this way, but make sure you're getting the same answer, 9x minus 4. Now, B is actually the easiest. There's just one little piece to be careful with. F of g of x, f divided by g of x is really just f of x. Let me draw a line between these two. Over g of x. Well, f of x is 3x squared minus 2x plus 1. G of x is x minus 4. That's really all you need to do as far as the division. What you have to make sure you say is make sure that this bottom number doesn't go to 0. So what number for x would make that bottom part 0? Well, if I put 4 in for x, that would be 4 minus 4, which is 0. So x cannot equal 4. So you'd need to say that piece also. Otherwise, there's nothing else to do with division because we don't know enough yet to do that. We are going to get to where we can do more, but that's not this unit. Okay? Now let's talk about a new thing. Actually not new, we did in Algebra 1. Composition of functions. Just a review. Remember it says Fog or Goff. It's f of g of x can also be written as f of g of x. Okay? It is read as f of g of x. I've said that 3 times now. All right, so remember with this, you always want to work from the inside out. So let's do number 3. Number 3 says f of x equals 4x and g of x equals 2x minus 1. Okay, so the first part says find fog x, or f of g of x. It really doesn't read fog, but f of g of x. And so the way I write this is f of g of x. I immediately replace my g of x with whatever the equation is. So I take out g of x and I replace it with this. So I'm just substituting. So I'm substituting in 2x minus 1. Now remember how we did this. I want to find out f of 2x minus 1. We did this back in the beginning. So I'm going to take f of blank equals 4 of blank. And what am I putting in that blank? I'm putting in 2x minus 1. So I put 2x minus 1, 2x minus 1. So it's like we're doing little problems at a time. And so we leave the left side alone. And over here is 8x minus 4. Well, because we had replaced the g of x with 2x minus 1, and then we replaced that into the f, this is our final answer. F of g of x equals 8x minus 4. That's my answer. Okay, now let's do it the other way. So the other way is g of f of x. So before I start, I'm going to say, well, I want to do g of f of x. Well, f of x is 4x. Now I come and I do my little g problem. G blank equals, and I take my x and I take it out, 2 blank minus 1, because that's what g of x is. I put 4x in there, leave the left side alone, g of 4 of x, and over here I have 8x minus 1. That's my final answer. So g of f of x equals 8x minus 1. That's composition. Okay? Let's do a couple more of these. So number 4, we have f of x equals 3x squared minus x plus 4, and g of x equals 2x minus 1, and it tells us to do it both ways, f of g of x and g of f of x. So let's do f of g of x. First thing I do, I replace the g of x. So now I'm really trying to figure out f of 2x minus 1. So I take my f function and I leave blanks, and I'm leaving bigger because I know what I need to put in. 3 blank, and the square goes on the outside, minus blank plus 4. And in there I put what I just replaced, and it's 2x minus 1, so I'm going to put 2x minus 1 in all the blanks. Okay, I leave the left side alone. And now I'm just simplifying the right side, which isn't as easy as it sounds because we got a lot of multiplying to do. Remember, that square is squaring the whole value, so we have to write that twice. So we're going to have to FOIL. So we have a 3 on the outside. If we FOIL that, we get 4x squared minus 2x plus 1. And then I'm going to distribute that negative. So that's going to be negative 2x plus 1 plus 4. What I did was I took this and I distributed it to get rid of the parentheses. I'm still not done with that first part. So the first part has a 3 outside, 4x squared minus 4x plus 1. I'm going to leave the end alone for right now while I finish up with these parentheses. Distribute. So there's a lot of algebra going on here. So any place that you like you were weak and you didn't practice it, this is going to make it apparent. So you need to work on this. So 12x squared minus 12x plus 3 minus 2x plus 1 plus 4. If I simplify this down, I end up with 12x squared minus 14x plus 8. And that's my f of g of x. So there's no step is overly difficult. There's just a ton of steps here, and you got to be very careful. So now we're still not done this problem because we didn't do g of f of x, so we got to go backwards. So again, I immediately replace that f of x with whatever f of x equals. F of x equals 3x squared minus x plus 4. Now I just do g of blank, and it's a big blank this time, equals 2 blank minus 1, because g of x was 2x minus 1. In the blank, I put in what I just replaced f of x with, 3x squared minus x plus 4, 3x squared minus x plus 4. Leave the left side alone. G of 3x squared minus x plus 4. Over here I simplify. So this is 6x squared minus 2x plus 8 minus 1. I distributed in case you didn't know what I just did. Simplify it. 6x squared minus 2x plus 7. That's my final answer of g of f of x. Usually one way, like either the g of f of x is easier or the f of x of g of x is easier. So usually if the first way is really long, the second way is going to be easy. Okay, last problem on this section, number 5. It says f of x equals x squared and g of x equals 5x and h of x equals x plus 4. The first one says, A says find f of g of 1. So the difference here is I'm going to start, because I have a number, I know I'm going to get an answer for this. So I need an answer for g of 1. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to do g of 1. That's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to figure out what g of 1 is. So g of 1 is really just 5 times 1. So g of 1 equals 5. So now I can come over here and replace that g of 1 with 5. So now I'm doing f of 5. Same process before. If I'm doing f of 5, I come up here, blank, squared, what goes in there is 5. So f of 5 is 25, but that's really the final answer of f of g of 1. Okay? B is g of h of negative 2. Again, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to figure out what's h of negative 2. H is blank plus 4, so negative 2 plus 4. So h of negative 2 is really just 2. So I come back over here and I do g of 2. And g of 2 is going to be 5 blank. Instead of the blank, I'm going to put a 2 in there. And so my final answer is g of h of negative 2 is 10.